Welcome back to the show, The Unbroken. I am your host, as always, Sam Davis. This episode is powered by Intervention on Call, your go-to resource if you're a family member that is just completely worn out with your addicted loved one and don't know what to do and don't feel like there's any hope left at all. We're the place for you. We have free family support groups 5 nights a week on Zoom, comfort of your living room or wherever you are. We have individual, private coaching with interventionists for you in your particular case, and we also do formal interventions. We are your resource and your go-to for the relief and the solutions that you need. You know, I think the question that goes through every single family member that has an addicted loved one is, how do I support without enabling? And we're going to answer that for you today, and we're going to get down into the weeds with it. And my guest to help me is Scott Stein. He's an interventionist out of D.C., He's a family coach, and he's a sober transport, and he's a provider on Intervention on Call. And we're going to talk about what is enabling, what is support. And one thing that I believe can clear a lot of it up in one sentence is doing something for others which they should and could be doing for themselves is enabling. Doing something for others where they cannot do on their own is helping and supporting. We're going to clear all that up for you. Scott, glad you're here, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to be here. Glad you came down. Battled that horrific traffic coming out of Northern Virginia. That is it's like the equivalent. It's got to be one of the layers of Dante's hell. What is it? Dante's Inferno, right? It's got to be one of the layers.
Well, what they've done now is they give you the express lane, so if you want to pay, you can bypass the Inferno and
zip on down.
Zip on down for the premium fee of whatever it was, $18.
It's about $18. Oh, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay to get through that.
Yes, you are.
So what's your take on enabling? Give me some examples of enabling. What do you see out here in your space of the enabling where families are confused about it?
I see, confusion, right? I just feel like something happens if you're a parent where there's this shift, and I just heard you talk about it a while back, that the addicted loved one is 10 steps ahead. They have been 10 steps ahead longer than, definitely before the person that's caring for them knew there was a problem. Support is something that a family member, a loved one, could be a very close friend, is used to giving. Addiction flips it all the way around, and the rules are now different. Can I get a ride to somewhere? The instinct is absolutely. They don't teach you in school, well, hang on a second, how could I be enabling? Is the ride to, across town, is that closer to the dealer? Or the sob story that's going to pull at your heartstrings. I was an expert at this. I knew exactly what to say to mom versus what I was going to say to dad versus what I was going to say to my sister. I had templates for these things. You know what I mean? And I need new work shoes. I got a job. A parent is going to say absolutely. That it's a reflex, especially a mom or a dad.
Because they're looking for any hope that things are going to change. And by God, a job, because that's all the family has wanted me to do is get gainful employment, and that's going to be the missing piece. It's going to propel me towards a life of abundance and out of this pit of addiction is the job. So God, if I don't get him shoes, that doesn't seem very supportive.
I can't go to work.
Right.
I got this job, and you're probably tired of sending me money. I got a job, but I need these shoes. They're special shoes. These non-slip, and I'll send them a screenshot of of the pair at a price that aligns with kind of what I'm going for that day.
Of what you need that day.
Yeah. So these are the shoes. They're very good. And it's just very confusing for a family member. The same rules do not apply.
Yeah.
And there's some denial, because the story's usually pretty good.
Oh, man, before I would go and present my case to either my mother or my father, like what they saw was me just walking in the door and laying out this elaborate story, which could make total sense. And they think it just happened. Like I had planned that from the moment I got up that morning, oftentimes from the day before, setting up for my next day of success of being an addicted individual. Is that I've schemed and planned, and I have read your reactions. I have been studying you for what? Not you, but my parents. I'd been studying you, and my sister, and anyone else in my life, for holes in your armor and understanding about what the real problem is with me, and I'll manipulate it. And I plan and strategize exactly what I was going to say. It takes a lot of energy to be an addicted individual, to be able to lay that out, manipulate your families. And I was here for it. I was going to do it. And I could manipulate them every time. I remember one time I'd owed the drug dealers some money. And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, look, I'm in some trouble. I owe the dealers some money. It's $200. I actually owed them $100. I said, it's $200. I said, if you would just go with me, and if I could get the money, I don't ever want to do this again. And if you could take me up there so I won't be at risk of maybe getting some more, if you've got you there with me, just in the parking lot. I don't want you to go in. I don't want you to see them, and they don't want to be seen. And he's like, he gave in immediately, and I knew that he didn't want to, but he was terrified that if I didn't, the dealers would get me. So I went in and I paid my debt. I got $100 worth of more product, and I came out and promised him that I was on a new path. And that's enabling.
And you got a ride.
I got a ride.
On top of all that.
Got a ride.
Yeah.
Got a ride home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the money.
And families are no match for this.
No.
You just talked about you're going to set the scene. They're at work. They're living their life.
Yeah.
They have all kinds of stuff. Just extracurricular, real life. And we have all day to plan and scheme and make sure the lights are just right and who's going to be there. I mean, if I walk in and someone else is there, I'm completely thrown off. The neighbor from across the street is over. This is not how I had planned this out. You know what I mean? And so when they're caught up in this chaos, we also have to keep in mind, this is not their full-time job. This is my full-time job. It's more than full-time. I work more than 40 hours at doing this. You know what I mean?
Yes, from the time I wake up to the time I pass out.
Yes. So they're no match for this. And when people call me, they're giving me the same story I've heard a million times. And I hope it's freeing and liberating to learn this is not unique. You're dealing with an insane disease that has plenty of downtime, idle time to scheme and manipulate. I'm happy we're on the phone right now because there are solutions. It is going to take some work. You're probably going to be in a conversation you don't want to be in. Now, we can talk about the balance of that. We don't need to get into this weird back and forth where you're trying to reason with an unreasonable thing, with an insane thing. But anything worthwhile is going to come on the other side of hard.
Yeah.
So this may mean, and I hope it is limited to just this, a really tense conversation or argument, a slamming of a door. I was on the meeting a couple nights ago where they were saying, I haven't even heard from him in 2 months. That may be some of the stuff. Maybe you do need to be held emotionally hostage for a little bit because the disease is going to get upset, and it's also going to focus its resources elsewhere. Okay, mom is this is not working like it used to. There's only so much time in the day. I'm losing daylight here. I got work to do. And so maybe, it's not going to be parents. Are you ready to go where you've not gone before? Because to get some different things, you're going to have to do some different things.
Yeah, just like your addicted loved one is good. You're asking them to go do what they've never done before. You have to be willing as well to do some things you've never done before. Mm-hmm. It's really that simple. It's really that simple.
Isn't it?
When you were telling me, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I hope I didn't throw you off track here. But when you were saying, it was your full-time job. And that's the truth. Like my mom, my dad had real estate. My dad had a business. My dad had grandkids. He had properties he liked to mess around on. He liked to garden. He liked to grow roses. He had a life. He had responsibilities. And it's really coming to light to me how many responsibilities he had that I was just such a pain in the ass to. Because once he passed, I took over his estate, and I'm like, I mean, this is last year. I'm going through, God, man, I put him through so much hell. I was such a menace. And what I was getting to is that police officers, cops, law enforcement, that is all they have to do from the time they wake up till the time they get off duty is to catch you. That is their job. That is what they do. And they are good at it, and they will succeed. Like, you will get caught because that is their job, is to catch you. All the resources that they can muster at their disposal, they are going to deploy to catch you, and that's their job. My job as an addicted individual is to keep that addiction alive. It, just like you said, I'm so glad you said it that way, because it is my full-time job. And I'm going to take mom off guard because mom has her life, playing golf, going with the ladies. My sister has other things in her life, and I am totally zoned in to my craft and my job. And by God, we are good at it. We are good at it. And we are going to manipulate you, and we are going to take you off guard, and we are going to get what we need from you. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right? So
that's why I like what I do. This is very attractive to me because I could be like bilingual. Mm-hmm. Like I can speak to the families and I can also speak to the addicted individual.
Right.
And I believe that I have some value there. I have the experience, and I'm able to like traverse both worlds semi-confidently. But I didn't have any experience I thought I was a genius. I thought I was unique, and I thought I would be able to continue doing what I was doing for at least the foreseeable future. I had no idea my last day using, when it got real bad, the rock bottom, it had been worse before. I have woken up with no money and no drugs several times, and it had even been colder. So I got clean when it got cold because it's harder to run around outside in D.C. But yeah. And that's not uncommon in places where it gets cold in the winter. Surrender gets a little easier when it gets a little more uncomfortable. Okay. But I had no idea my last day using this time around 6.5 years ago was going to be in a few days. The external things that were happening to me they were happening to me, right? They weren't what was actually happening, which I believe there was something bigger at work. And I was running out of options, and my mother was doing some work, and I had no idea.
Doing her own work. Doing her own recovery work. Arming herself with the facts. Asked for help through a medical professional. They pointed her in the direction of some Al-Anon meetings. You had no idea what that was.
I had no idea. If I think back now, I can tell the conversations were changing a little bit. She wasn't as quick to react emotionally with whatever was happening. I didn't hear from her as much. She was very like, how are you? What did you do today? Really not getting caught up in the little things.
Or telling you what you needed to do.
The job discussions stopped. See, this job that's going to fix everything was a big thing for them. I couldn't hold a job, and I'd go lengths of time without one, just through being a resourceful guy. And I stopped hearing things like that. Hey, you need to do this thing, go talk to these people over here. Have you had any prospects? That's her big word. Prospects lately? Mm-hmm. Have you talked to so-and-so and whatever and about your
And what do you think's driving that? What do you think? I know that, certainly gainful employment is important, right, to a family. What is the self-centered, deep-seated fear that they're operating out of that affects them about your prospect of a job? What does you being unemployed tell them about themselves, you think?
I think, with my family, it's probably a few things. I think the biggest thing is they think that speaks to how they raised me.
Because if you don't have a job, you're a bum.
Yeah, well, what's Scott
if you're
doing?
A bum,
I mean, what's
he doing?
Holiday dinner. How's Scott? He's good. He's figuring it out. He's
a bum.
Yeah, he's a bum.
Which then says, we raised a bum.
Yeah.
And then that reflects on them. So in order to prevent that,
Right.
their only thing is, well, hell, I got to give him some shoes to help him get a job
Yes, sir.
because I don't want that to reflect on me that I've raised a bum. When you're really not a bum. You're
Right.
just in so much emotional pain, you're not even able to work.
As sick as anyone could imagine.
So-
I didn't know this till about 90 days clean and sober. I had not looked in the mirror for any length of time for probably like 6 to 9 months. I brushed my teeth, but I would like walk out of the bathroom and like look at the TV or something and then go back and put the toothbrush back. I mean, I couldn't look at myself. And I was still so insane. I'm like, yeah, everything's great. This is fine. I just got to put together a few things and whatever. And usually that would involve some seed money just to get it going again. And like I said, my mom was doing some work and I had no idea in the moment. And I asked her that one last time, which was it was so routine by this point, but just asked her if she could. She didn't know how to use Venmo. So I asked her to ask my dad to Venmo me some because that was the system. Mm-hmm. My dad says, ask your mother. So tell me, you don't got to tell me twice. Now the routine is, hey, Mom, can you have Dad send me a Venmo? And she said, I can't do that anymore. And they had brought up treatment before, some sort of counseling. And she said, the only thing I'm willing to pay for is something like that gets you help. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but treatment related. And I was like, no, you see, and I had a whole story. And she said, well, I've been talking to some people. For me, she made sure I knew for her because I would get really scared when she was talking to people about me and places I'd be going and things I should look at and links she'd send me of facilities. I've been doing some work for me and I've been talking to some people. And of course, that's a big threat for me. Who you been talking to? Who are these people? She said, I've been going and talking to Al-Anon. And I said, Al who? I never heard of it. Yeah. I said, I don't know no Al. And he don't know me. So I'm going to need you to have Dad send. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. Hung up, called Dad. He lives with my mom, so we're on the same page.
Right.
They weren't always, but this was big.
What was his reaction when you called him? Did it back up Mom?
A little bit, but I could tell he was a little softer. And I'm not going to say a lot. He helped me out a little bit more down the road with some other more creative things I had. But it really was not long. That helped me avoid what I do believe could have been death. I mean, I was using fentanyl, and I was in denial about what that was because it was when everything started to turn into that, and they started putting it in everything. I do believe that was it. Like I said, it had been worse before. I had a nice climate-controlled room in my cousin's basement, my grandma's cousin's basement, the poor lady.
Your grandmother's cousin's basement.
We call her Cousin Lisa. My grandparents died when we were younger, so she's been in our family forever. It's like always my mom, my dad, maybe an aunt and uncle, and then Cousin Lisa.
Cousin Lisa.
Cousin Lisa's, I call her Saint Lisa now. Mm-hmm. We can get a little candle with this, Mm-hmm. Saint Lisa, 70s, never married, federal government worker for 32 years, did what she could. You can come stay with me while you figure this out after my second eviction. And
that's enabling.
That is enabling.
And it's really, how can you explain that is enabling, that offer of help from Cousin Lisa? How do you get Lisa, 70 years old, just old school, how do you get Lisa to understand that's actually harming you?
I think about that a lot when I'm speaking with families. How, if a cousin Lisa came to me and said, I'm a little concerned about a family member who's living with me, and I told them he has to leave or pay some rent, I mean something, I wasn't doing anything. I was eating her food, and that gave her some purpose. Maybe she never really had anyone live with her before, because she lived with her mom until her mom passed, and that was it. And she lived alone in that 3-story townhouse. And I don't know if she would accept that. information, that suggestion. I have a family member now who reaches out sometimes and asks about one of our family members, and he's the dad, and he's like, what do we do? And he'll tell me, I cannot cut him off in the way that you're talking about. What are we supposed to do? Just cast him off in the streets? Like, we're family. That's not how we were raised. And I'm like, the guy's 45 years old. I mean, some people, it is a tough pill to swallow, and they may, out of fear, say, well, there must be another way.
Yeah.
Let me go talk to some other people.
Yeah. And they make the circles.
Yeah. And then my phone rings again 6 weeks later, or something like that, or
I think it's important that we go through some examples of like there's the obvious enabling, taking your loved one down to score, taking your loved one down to get the drugs, or taking them to the liquor store, buying alcohol for them. What are some more obvious? Giving your 19-year-old the keys to the car and pay the insurance or pay their rent in apartments. I mean, that's obvious enabling. What are some more subtle ways that families are enabling their loved one? You think that they have no idea, and it's oftentimes the subtle ways that they're enabling are the easiest to correct. They can give you strength in an experience that shows that you're going to see results, and that'll give you the strength and the courage to shut down the larger enabling. So I think the subtle ways that people are enabling is important to uncover.
I mean, I think anything that shields from the consequences. I mean, dude, I have this guy right now. It's someone I've been working with more on a kind of a consulting basis. But mom is, when we get to the core of what's going on with them, is the what do you want to call it? The optics, the appearance. And we've had this conversation. Maybe it's time. And I always make the joke with people, I can't believe, I had to leave the house. I was only 32. Mm-hmm. This guy's 31. And people at church would shun us if we, this is a cultural thing, if we, had him leave before he was ready, kicked him at whatever. Do the people at church know the chaos that's going on in your house right now? Are you explaining his behavior? Yes, I know the answers to these questions. Someone's acting a little different around in other people in public, family, friends, at church, or whatever. You're making excuses for that, or why does the car look like that? Oh, you wouldn't believe his luck, whatever. They don't have to answer to these things because mom or dad or cousin or whoever is swooping in to soften that and keep me really comfortable. And I'm going to keep using. If things are really screw the AC, the climate controlled room I always refer to, because that's how I perceive comfort. If I'm outside freezing or sleeping on a bench in the summer, something's wrong, right? If I'm good and I have a key that locks the door, whatever, screw all that. The comfort of someone's going to come in right behind me and make this totally normal. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And it doesn't have to be using substance. It could be behaviorally. It's the same thing as, someone in a abusive relationship making excuses for the other person. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you heard what they just said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, the emotional availability it's one of my passions, is helping people get out of this insane tug of war, back and forth, I have seen amazing things happen when people get just very rigid. Like you said, weather and sports. Mm-hmm. We don't need to go into all this. That can be addicting for both parties. We want the chaos. We want the argument. We want the back and forth. We want that's where we are.
Yeah. And your mom was very matter of fact about that.
She rehearsed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was clear communication. And we're so used to, and every family that is dealing with this is so used to the blow-ups and the explosions. You feel like you got to yell, and it's just so emotionally driven. She didn't tell you anything that you needed to do. She didn't come out of the gate with, why are you asking me that? Or why would you? She was just very simply, nonchalantly, it's like, no, I've been working on my own stuff, and I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. What is in a scenario that maybe you could put a family of cousin Lisa of where she would have never just thrown, innocent Scott out on his rear end. But what is a tactic and a strategy that she could do that she's more able to swallow? Something came to my mind as you were saying, is like, and you kind of mentioned it, was she could have simply say, listen, financially, my situation has changed. And unfortunately, and as much as I hate to bring this to you, is that either I'm going to have to collect some rent for you. I'm going to have to rent this space out to someone else because my financial situation has changed. Or you're going to have to go live somewhere else. That's just not happening here. Now, that's kind of beating around the bush a little bit, and it's not hitting it direct on, but it is a starting point. And from there, she could build on that. What are your thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that?
I have some thoughts. So yes, a discussion about contributing. Any skin in the game would be great, young man.
Knowing that you're not going to be able to contribute.
Right. Groceries. Well, I'll tell you, it did start out that way. The arrangement was, it was very loose, very, open for interpretation. But when I moved in, that was kind of the arrangement. Hey, if you want to pay one of the utility bills just so that you're helping. Also, I didn't mention she would go to Florida for the winter every year. So, while you're away, you can take care of the cable and the power. I wasn't able to do that, And that conversation kind of went away because she wanted to avoid the conflicts. But that's a great starting point, and a nice bite-size, piece is, why don't we start with this? The tactic is, you and I both know, they're most likely not going to be able to do it. If they are, that's great. We now know that, and we can work with that. Oh, he's able to contribute. That gives us a sense of where the individual is.
Yeah, so in her mind, she had planned this is that, well, hell, when I go to Florida every winter, Scott's there to take care of the place and keep after everything.
Yes.
The reality is that, hey, when I go to Florida, I left my home to an addicted individual, what were you using?
Mostly fentanyl.
Fentanyl? So a fentanyl addict.
Yeah.
And who was dishonest. And were you stealing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like.
Right out of her purse.
Yeah, so it's not cousin Scott. She's allowing a rattlesnake in her house to handle things while she's gone and to look after everything. Let's get into some more if you don't. I hate to change gears on you, but
please.
But what are some more subtle ways that families enable? I think silence is one of the major ways that people enable. Silence, making excuses to your loved ones, making excuses to the employer, making excuses to the neighbors, being dishonest to people around you. It doesn't mean you have to go air all your laundry out to anyone. No one, like, you share what you want, but the silence, I think, is some of the most powerful enabling that families do. No,
I agree. It provides the comfort, right? I'm moving along. Everything is as I'd like it to be. It's status quo. There's nothing intervening on this. There's nothing that I have to. There's no friction. I'm just operating. But the silence. Well, I guess there's a difference between avoidance and then silence of when when a loved one is called on for something, like holding the boundary. You know what I mean? It's just, no, that's what it is, with a period at the end of it. That's where I'm at. But isn't it so easy for, just regular productive citizens to put that somewhere else while they worry about life is hard for some people. And that's something that's happening over there. And he's gonna figure it out. Maybe he'll eventually want this for himself more than I want this for him, or some other things people tell themselves. And we'll wait for the chaos and then we'll react to it when it happens.
Right. I like for families to run this through what I said earlier when I was doing the intro is, doing something for others which they could and should be doing for themselves is enabling. Doing something for others which they cannot do for themselves is supporting. Paying car insurance. Well, geez, if I don't pay car insurance, he can't drive, and therefore he can't get to work. People would think that that was supportive. The big picture of that is that if you're paying the car insurance and the reason, if the baseline is the reason that your loved one can't pay car insurance because they're spending their money on cocaine or whiskey or hookers, then you jump in and say, well, shit, he needs the insurance. I'll do it for this month or the next couple of months. And I help him out. I want to be supportive. They're actually supporting his ability or her ability to spend the money that would normally go for insurance and go to hookers, whiskey, and cocaine. That's enabling. Someone's in sober living. They're just leaving inpatient treatment. Let's say they'd been in inpatient treatment for 30 days or 60 days or whatever, and they've they've accepted and willing to go to sober living. Sober living's $1,000 a month. Just throwing a number out there, $1,000 a month. Plus, you got to buy some groceries. Would that be supporting? Would that be enabling? If the family had to cover the first month, and where? Because I get this a lot, and I'm sure you do too. With families when their loved ones go to church, how long do I pay for sober living? How long do I support their groceries and all that? How long do I do that? If they're in inpatient treatment, they're probably not employed, right? Or they've gone 30 or 60 days without a paycheck. They are not able to pay the rent in a sober living or provide the groceries on the front end. So I would look at that as support. Can you give an example of when even that turns into enabling in a scenario? Because I think it's really touchy ground and families don't know what to do when their loved ones are in sober living because they're asking for new Nikes, cigarettes, dip, Zins, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Steaks, lobster.
Sure.
Bus passes, rides, all that.
Right.
Ubers, DoorDash, cards, everything.
I mean, I recommend this with this exact scenario and other things. The boundary is the actual, you can't just say something and that's my boundary. It's the follow through. It's the action. So you could never be too clear and black and white, especially with an addicted person or someone just coming from treatment. And I hate to break it to anyone who's not heard this before, but someone getting out of treatment 30, 60 days, even 90 days, that person is just as insane as, and yeah. I mean, they're stabilized and you have to start there, and they've built a foundation, especially after 90 days, they have built such a foundation, but they are bouncing off the walls.
They're still like a baby giraffe.
They're a baby giraffe, and they don't have their medicine. They're self-medicating. They don't have and they don't yet have the tools developed. There's a reason they have these like silly things that you won't really find in the literature. If you're in a 12-step fellowship, like no relationships in your first year, no majors don't move because you don't know yet. So being super clear about we're going to pay, and this is good support, because what are the other options if you're not going to take care of that first month of a sober house? Boom, you're in the sober house, little round of groceries. Let's talk about a budget for those groceries. We are looking at Costco, Walmart. We're not going to Whole Foods and you're just swipe the credit card. Really clear, crystal clear. Overemphasize on where you need to be emphasizing, because I will take that and run with it. I'll try to find a way to make it work. I have a gift card game that you would not believe. And I still know how to do it. Not because I'm trying to use. I just like little things. I like to see if you'll give me the inch so I can take the mile. And then, yeah, the job. We were talking about that the other night. Well, we do want you to get a job. What job are you looking for? Because we're going to need you to get a job. I got a job at a grocery store with like 60 days, and it was great, But I had my feelings about that, I deserve I need six figures. I need a real good job so I can get all my stuff back. I need my apartment. If they're looking for a job, then, that should be part of the agreement. Like,
any job.
And it's really hard because you want to say, well, you need to get verification that they're actually looking for it. But after a month or two, I feel like, there's nothing out here. It's dry as a bone. I hear it right now. It's the worst economy to get it. The federal employee, that's not real. I can get a job tomorrow. Watch me. With no resume.
Yeah. And families now, this is where families get tripped up, is they're like, well, oh my God, he's been in active addiction so long, or she's been in active addiction so long. They need help? Do the programs help them get a job? Do they help them? And oh my God, we have to help him. We help him to drive him around, look for rest. Let me shed some light on something about your addicted loved one. And I'd like to challenge you. Hope you don't do it, but I would like for any mother or any father or anyone that doesn't do drugs or drink, tomorrow morning when you get up, go out and try to score. Go out, try to find some fentanyl. Go out, try to find some. Hey, you hear people say, oh, it's everywhere. You can get it on any. Get up in the morning, get in your car, go try to buy an 8-ball. Go get a 20 a rock. Man.
I'll raise you one. Try to do it with no money or very little money.
There you go. Perfect. No money or very little money. Get up tomorrow morning, go make it happen. And then you come back and tell me how your loved one needs all this and needs all that. It takes a genius, a very intelligent, talented, and gifted individual to be able to pull that off. And we do it. Your loved one does not need help or hand-holding to go get a job. They don't, and maybe not the job they want at the time, but any job. It's called a get-well job.
It's called a get-well job. It's called a starter job, a recovery job. And if food and all that, it's getting real tedious in this agreement you're making, you can find local resources. And I'm not saying send your child or spouse or whatever to a soup kitchen, but there are options. Not everything. And it should be a little hard, and it should be a little humbling. That's part of this.
Yeah.
You're going to rebuild.
Success lies behind the struggle.
Success lies behind the struggle.
Don't rob your loved one of struggle.
Right.
Because you're only robbing them of self-esteem when you do. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's exactly what I wanted to say. It's a passion of mine because that's my story.
Right.
And I did have a little bit of help. I mean, I'm talking in the hundreds of dollars. I don't even think we hit the 4-figure mark for rent at the sober house, a little assistance with whatever it was, some money for the Metro card, and so I could look for jobs. We didn't have to get too far into like a negotiation or a contract or something very black and white. This is what we're willing to pay for. I mean, the jig was up. It was over, and I knew what I had to do, Yeah. And I got a job. So yeah, something like that. I know we chopped that question up a little bit, but I think in the end, a very reasonable thing that both parties, or not both parties, the financiers of this agreement feel is practical without leaving a little off the end that could be getting kind of, exploited or carried away.
Let's go on the opposite end over here, pre-treatment, just real quick, because this stumbles families a lot too. As I say, you've set the boundary of your loved one. I can't stay in the home. They're out there bebopping around, couch surfing, or whatever they're doing. And you've set that boundary. You feel like you're not enabling. And you're also their parent. You're not in agreement with how they're living their life. But as that boundary, you're saying is, hey, your life is your life. This is not allowed into my life. What you're doing is not allowed into my life. But it doesn't mean you don't love them. And families can really get wrapped up in is like, no enabling means I can't get them any food. I can't do anything for them. I can't talk to them. I can't do any of that. And that's just not true. It's not sustainable. It's not loving, and it's not true. So say your loved one's out here couch surfing, like you've set the boundary. You haven't given them the car. You're not bailing them out of things. You're not doing that. But you want to go buy him some dinner. Go buy him dinner. If you're at Chick-fil-A and you know that they love the Crispy Deluxe, get them two. If you feel so inclined, if you feel moved to do so, everything is in the why, right? If you're in there buying 6, Chicken Deluxes at Chick-fil-A because you want them to know that you love them, you want your loved one to know that you really love them and that you're really feeling really guilty for doing the appropriate action that you need to do, I wouldn't do it. That's enabling. If you're buying a Chick-fil-A deluxe sandwich because you know that your loved one loves it and you just love them and you want to give them that, go do it. Go do it. Would you agree with that? I mean, they get so lost in the weeds about what to do and what not to do. And the frustrating thing, just to hold families accountable, the frustrating is you're trying to wing it. You will not follow direct. Just seek guidance. Seek answers. Seek the solution from those who have been the addicted individuals. I mean, they don't have to be, but it's helpful that have been where your loved one is and is now 10 steps ahead of them. You get to immediately jump from 10 steps behind your addicted loved one to 10 steps ahead. Mm-hmm. When you seek counsel with those that know and are now on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
It's frustrating.
It's very frustrating. And I hear this a lot because, well, people are scared. They're like, okay, I was told that they have to leave and they can't be here and I shouldn't give any money for this and that. And I want it to be like, this is right? I need it to be perfect. There's no margin of, and it's unique to everyone's situation, which is why it's really good to, just like my mother did, she spoke to a professional. We speak to people. We get all sorts of questions. And the context is so good sometimes. I mean, on these family support groups, in the chat, it's a story. And I don't always love that because there's some kind of commonalities and it's not important what they were doing when they were 12 and they were a great lacrosse player. But like the current situation, and there's some overlap here. And I was speaking with a woman a few weeks ago whose daughter's not at home anymore, and they've done a great job with this. She doesn't need to be in the house, and now she's not. And it's pretty bad. And she was almost embarrassed to tell me, or maybe a little ashamed, that she goes over there once a week to clean her daughter's teeth. She's a dental hygienist, and she's nervous that she just doesn't want her daughter to lose her teeth. And she said, "Is that okay?" Yeah, yes, that is. And that's the only time they do have a week. And I said, "Does she like when you come over?" And she said, "Yeah." And it is really nice, and she's a little ashamed. Her place doesn't look good, but and love can kind of penetrate this disease sometimes. Like I didn't feel much when it got really bad, but the way my mom looked at me, and I knew how I looked, discolored and very thin and just greasy, and I can feel it wasn't the way other people looked at me. I felt that. A brief restoration of sand, just for a split second. And the way she hugged, the way she talked to me, you can feel it. And the same individual, this woman's, the father of this, of the individual, he was sharing that he likes to take her to food sometimes. Not because she's starving. I think she has some sort of a program that she's able to get, but he wants some time with her. And their thing is they go somewhere. It's somewhere in Canada. I don't remember the name of it. It's a chain. And I said, "That's great." And he said, "It's every 2 weeks. It's not a big deal. It's just once in a while." I said, I love it.
Love it.
But there have been times where he's waited downstairs for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And they play this game. She says 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
That's
5
enabling.
minutes. And I said, what you could do there is you can just get the heck out
You're
of there.
enabling bad behavior
Right.
or inappropriate behavior.
She's waiting for something. She's doing
behavior.
something, and my dad's going to wait as long as I want. I said, what we're really going to pack a punch is that first time you say, "No, I'm going to get out of here. I'm starving. I can't eat with you. I'm going to go eat." That's what you could do there.
Yep.
It's not the food. It's that stuff.
Yes. It offers opportunities to plug in healthy communication and demonstrate some healthy boundaries that you respect yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so, look, we just scratched the surface of this. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours and hours talking about enabling and what is supportive and what is enabling. So we're going to come back and talk about this some more when you can get down from D.C. And we also talk about it on our family support groups and on your private coaching sessions. You address it. And, man, I can't thank you enough for coming in here today, making that ride. Enjoyed hanging out with you. And I'm really grateful that you're a part of Intervention on Call. You help you help and you're going to help a lot more families.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah. Guys, that's it for this episode. We just scratched the surface of it. There's a lot to it. The main takeaways, I think, from this is, look, doing something for others which they could and should be doing for themselves is enabling. Doing something for others which they cannot do for themselves is helping and supporting. So you can run your experiences through that little checklist. Certainly not going to give you 100% clarity all the time. Also, it doesn't, tough love and boundaries and not enabling means turning your back on your loved one. Get with a professional. Book a session with one of us, one of the wonderful providers like Scott, myself, any of the other interventionists that are on Interventional Call. Book an hour with them. It's 1 hour. There's no catch. They're not going to try and move you somewhere else. They're not. It's not a scam. It is 1 hour where you have committed financially, and it's $150 for an hour session. It's $150, and I came up with that price when I developed this company because we were at Five Guys, me and my two sons, and burgers and fries were like $130. And I said, well, if I'm paying $130 for greasy hamburgers, families can pay $150 for an hour to save their life. So it's $150. And you sign on, and you're committed financially. We are committed because we're compensated, and we will give you everything that we've got in that hour. And from there, you can do as you wish. You can be like, hey, that was great. I think I'd like to have another. Cool, we're right here. Or you can say, that was helpful. I got what I needed. I don't need any more. I'm going to keep coming to family support, and if something comes up, I'll get another session. Cool, we're right here. Or you can say, you know what? That guy was a dick. I'm not coming back to that. Cool. Okay. Right? I mean, we haven't had that yet. We haven't had that. We haven't had one complaint in the 3 years that we've been doing this. We have not had one complaint from a session with us. Not one complaint. I've never had anyone leave a session and go out and spread the word and say, well, that was stupid and worthless. It just hadn't happened. So, guys, thanks again for being a part of this show. Thanks again for tuning in. We're going to see you next week. If you liked what we say here, you're going to love what we do at Interventional on Call. So come check us out, our free family support every night of the week except Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, except Friday and Saturday. If you like what we're doing here, hit that like and subscribe. Be good to yourselves, and we're going to see you next time. Bye-bye.